pervasive drive for autonomy when the new parenting tools are not working, and hear about this one suggestion this mom tried and she found her whole parenting paradigm shift. My name is Annette, and with Effortless Parenting, I encourage you to embrace boundaries with your strong-willed and empathy-filled child so that you can cherish a bond for life. I was in a parenting training last week, and a parent mentioned that their child was just diagnosed with ASD, and for a moment I couldn't remember which diagnosis that was, and then I went home and looked it up, and I saw that it's called autism. The official diagnosis, Autism Spectrum Disorder. And I actually found myself getting a little bit angry because for the first time I had heard that we now see autism as a disorder, and the more I kind of researched, what also came up was mental illness. So this is what inspires this video today, where I would like to share a little bit how I've been helping parents in the past, one mother in particular, and what I've been learning over the last year or so about the PDA, which used to be called pathological demand avoidance, and has since been changed to pervasive drive for autonomy, which is exactly what I'm so interested in and always have been as a child when I was really small, and I remember going through the world as a child and looking up to all these adults and just feeling so powerless. With my friend Jess, whom I interviewed on my channel last year on this whole topic of autism and PDA, I'm going to leave a video link right here. It's called All Brains Matter. So for over a decade now, I've been identifying really strongly with Elaine Aron's work on highly sensitive people and highly sensitive children, and especially that dynamic if a parent was normal sensitive and maybe the child is highly sensitive. The diagnosis really helps parents, and it brings this acceptance with it that there is nothing wrong with their child, that it's just a different neurotype. So parents often come to me after they receive a diagnosis for their child or also for themselves, and they say that they've tried everything with their child and it doesn't seem to work. I like to refer to children as strong-willed, whether they're neurodivergent or not. And I looked it up with my own children the other day, what strong-willed means. And this is what the dictionary says. Strong-willed is to an individual who's determined to do as one wants, even if other people advise against it. So when I first came across PDA, and it was still as the pathological demand avoidance, and I read about it, I thought that was exactly me as a child. And I can see this in so many children now. So what do we mean by demands? When a parent makes demands of a child, and it doesn't have to be intentionally said with anger. It can just be things like things of the daily normal routine. Go and brush your teeth. Put on your coat. Hurry up. Put your dishes in the dishwasher. Put down that phone. Stop watching YouTube shorts. So of course we need to get our child to cooperate, and we come with really good intentions as parents. And what we say in this Adlerian parenting approach is that it's not so much what the parent says, it's more how the child receives it. And this is what I help parents with. And I have a really interesting interview on my YouTube channel, which is called the Dignity Double Bind. I'm going to leave a video at the very end of this if this resonates, and feel free to watch it. And Lois Ingber, one of my mentors, she explains that a double bind is when we have two options, but neither option is really what we want. They both kind of end in a loss. And for a child, she explains, when they receive these commands, that she says it's like this power dynamic. So the parent is here and tells the child what to do, and the child down here has two choices really. They will either do what the parent says and therefore kind of accept the parent is the boss, the parent is in control, Or they could come here to having rather that power over level, a power with. So why she calls it the dignity double bind is because a child and no human being for that matter wants anybody else to be in control of them. She says that, and it comes from Alfred Adler, who said that the ironclad logic of social living is equality, and what that meant, and there has been so much talk about equality and equity, but when it comes to equality in this power dynamic sense, it means that children, as anyone else, as women maybe 100 years ago and still ongoing, want to be treated with the same dignity and respect. So do children. This really helped me as a mom to see that whenever I make a demand, and it can also be phrased as a question, if I say, would you mind picking up your toys, or can you please tidy up your shoes there? It's still a command, and children, I read this in psychology today before I ever had children. A child of preschool age receives approximately 433 commands every day, and I will never forget that number. So when we talk about this what they call demand avoidant, then it's not that children are born demand avoidant. It's that we know when we've raised children that the toddlers and the 2-year-olds, they all want to help. A child starts out and they want to copy what the parent does, but after hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of commands received, I see it almost like the bucket is full. No more commands can be received into that bucket, and it overflows. So my question is, what if neurodivergent children, or neurodiverse children, whichever you prefer to choose which term, what if they are simply no longer wanting us to parent from an obedience and a compliance point of view, but what if we saw them as the courageous children that they are, who don't really live from prestige, maybe like you or I were brought up, but who are, I just had to leave the cat out. So what I was saying was that those strong-willed children, in the heat of the moment, they don't really think about, oh my God, what does the neighbor think? They are challenging us ever so slightly as a parent to come from not this demanding and being in a one down position, but they want us to come from a mutually respectful place where wherever we can, give them autonomy and decision-making powers and include them, so that they don't feel in this one down position. Sometimes when, let's say, a parent does parenting training or reads online how to do it differently, and especially if maybe you have received a diagnosis for yourself or your child, that sometimes we see that the behavior can be maybe getting a bit worse, or it feels like the child is really testing you. And then what is happening there is that the child who maybe felt a bit discouraged is testing if you really mean it, So in a way, they're asking, is my dignity really being respected now? And that's where the parent is invited, and you are invited to keep at it, keep parenting from mutual respect and keep going with all that good stuff you're already doing. We see a misbehaving child, as it was traditionally called, more as a discouraged child, and behind every discouraged child there's a parent seeking encouragement. And in this Adlerian approach, what we see it as is that children, they need encouragement like a plant needs water, I always say. And the way to encouragement isn't through rewarding children, because that adds another power dynamic. If we reward a child where we wanted to maybe come from an old approach where the parent had the power over the child. What happens with rewards, it shifts because a child interprets rewards very differently. Lois explains. She says, a child sees it like this: if you give me what I want, I will reward you with what you want. So then it's almost like the parent's down here, the child is up here, and the child has that power. So this whole approach is coming back from down here in the one down position to back here. And what I shared a few years ago with one parent who came to my parenting training, and she had been gone home after the first session and said, it's not working, I'm trying it, and it's not working. And I explained a little bit how we see encouragement. And Rudolf Dreikurs writes that for encouragement, which is so crucial, we have 50% or half of encouragement is to keep the child and us encouraged. So to point out, their growth and where they are developing, and include yourself as well. You're a parent for the first time. And so then the other 50% is to simply stop any discouraging comments or anything that I'm not saying you are discouraging your child. I would never say this because we're not really aware of this until we learn about it. But when we see that the child is not cooperating, then there is discouragement behind that non-cooperation. And we can simply encourage that child. So I had recommended to this mom that just for one day to stop any commands or any demands she makes of that child. And she came back the next week and she was almost hopping in the door, and she said she managed to, for one day, to not make any commands, and she saw such a change in her child just after that one day. And I think to have that approach, to just do something for a short period of time, and then you can always go back to the way you did before. It's not this huge pressure of I need to change things, or it's like this New Year's resolution, that is so hard to keep up. So now you might be saying, okay, that's fine, I can leave all the demands for one day, but I still need to get that child to carry the bowl to the sink. If what I'm saying resonates, I have created a really affordable training for it's 9 modules and it's 11 euros per module. If you buy the whole package today, you get 1 module for free. I'm gonna leave the link just underneath this video. It not only explains, but it engages you in experiential activities, and you get a handbook with it and my entire parenting toolbox. And I should have called it parenting training on how to have power with your child, because every module is geared towards that, how to give that child autonomy and not only have come from order or boundaries constantly in enforcing rules, but also have some freedom and how to find that balance. So in summary, no parent I've ever worked with enjoyed receiving commands. Everyone had a really kind of visceral reaction of resisting of what I asked them to do or told them to do. And I see those neurodiverse children as really courageous individuals who are pointing us to what is no longer working in old systems, which is still trying to enforce here, and to give it a go just for one day. And if it's not with your child, try it with someone else, to just leave all those demands out. And this is not about getting it right and never having problems again. Parenting, I see it as it is continuous encouraging our children and ourselves. And if this resonates and you would like to have a deeper insight based on Adlerian teachings, I recommend to watch this video with my mentor right here.